The Representative Harper, the definition, there are two definitions of destroyed. Sub A, and I didn't, it's in here. On line 22 of the bill, page 1, excuse me. Damage to the, back up. Line 21, 2A, being dismantled with the intention of never again operating as a vehicle. That is one of the definitions of a destroyed vehicle. The other one is sub B, damage to the extent that the cost of repair would, and then it meets those two definitions. You could have a vehicle that was not wrecked, but for some other reason had become inoperable, and you decided it was not worthy of rebuilding or worth trying to repair and drive, and begin to dismantle it, take it apart. Maybe you wanted to use the parts on another vehicle or sell them or what have you. That meets the definition of destroyed as well.
What about the definition in section 2? Starting with line 21.
Without, Representative Harper, you're asking if this definition could occur without the vehicle being damaged, wrecked? I can't imagine how that would occur. I can't think of any examples right offhand where a vehicle would meet that particular definition without having substantial damage to it.
Representative Harper, I guess I'm not following your question. That
Well,
sets up the
I'm trying to find out,
procedures that the
Madam
division
Chair,
follows.
is the line of reasoning that Representative Hayden has gone through. If you just have a car that's dismantled or disassembled sitting in your front yard that's never been in a wreck, do you have to surrender the title and registration? And I really haven't got an answer to that yet.
Dave.
Madam Chair, Representative Harper, I was just handed a note by Joanne Peterson, and she suggested that a flood-damaged vehicle might meet that definition, for one.
I didn't hear you.
A flood-damaged vehicle, one that had been inundated in a flood, where there was considerable water damage to it, could involve some rusting of component parts, things of this sort. That could meet the definition. And to try to address the other problem that you just mentioned, a vehicle that I've had it set in my yard, it hasn't been damaged. I've taken parts off, and I decide to turn around and put it back together again. That would not meet this definition. Okay, there's been no damage to it. I am simply putting my car back together after I've maybe done some work and left it set for a while.
Dave, how would you plan to enforce this? For instance, in Representative Hayden's case, where he's got 3 cars that have been in an accident and have had substantial damage or such, is the division going to go riding around the streets looking for cars sitting in people's front yards, or wait for people to come in and bring, how do you plan to enforce it?
Madam Chair, this particular provision, particularly where we're dealing with the public vehicle, is very difficult to enforce, and primarily we're not proposing that we send out an army looking for these vehicles. What we are saying is that there needs to be some provision in the law that makes any vehicle that meets this definition subject to the surrender of that title, and that by placing that provision in the statutes, that someone who subsequently buys that vehicle without having that prior condition disclosed, or the fact that it was repaired substantially, would have some legal recourse. At present, there's nothing to require that vehicle be reconstructed properly. There's nothing that requires that the subsequent purchaser be notified that the vehicle was substantially damaged, maybe quite substantially damaged, and repaired. It's as much to provide some statutory basis for that person to come back and say, look, you lied to me, and I got hurt, or somebody else that I care about got hurt.
But it's also a Class A misdemeanor, is it not?
I don't believe it is.
I think page 2, lines 15 and 16.
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair, it is. And has been. That's not a change.
Madam Chair,
Representative Hayden.
may I make another observation? I'm very uncomfortable with having this apply to individuals who are not in the commercial business. A case in point, I'm not exactly sure how it would apply, but I'm uncomfortable that it might apply. I recently, remember a few weeks ago when I had to leave, my car was damaged. Well, the replacement value of the car is about $12,000. It's a fairly new car. It's not 4 years old. The damage was extensive enough that the insurance company would like to scrap it. I would like to have it fixed. But under this bill, I'm not sure that they couldn't say, well, the value is not worth 80% of the market value.
Is it no?
Yeah, they can, but I'm afraid that I and other individuals might get embroiled in something here where we're told you have to turn your title in on that car. I don't want to turn the title in on that car.
I believe, Dave, you might want to respond, but I think you do already, based on current law.
Not as an individual.
Am I right? Am I not right?
If, Madam Chair, Representative Hayden, at present, if the damage, and if we're talking a newer model car, exceeds or meets 80% of the market value of the car prior to the accident, and it's a fairly new, substantially new car, in the vast majority of cases, the insurance company, when doing a total payoff on that, is going to take the title.
Exactly right, Madam Chair, exactly right. If I accept the insurance company payment and they take the car, I don't have any problem with that. But if I reject their payment and say, no, sir, I'll fix that car myself, and I'll pay the bill, I don't want to have to turn the title in on that car.
In that particular instance, Representative Hayden, this bill would require that, yes.
Yeah, I don't want that. Madam Chair, I move to table this bill.
Representative Hayden moves to table A. Gross Senate Bill 117. Janet, call the roll.
Representative Banzer?
No.
Representative Rajati?
No.
Representative Harper?
Aye.
Representative Hayden?
Aye.
Representative Roberts?
Aye.
Representative Whitty?
No.
Representative Lindquist?
No. Motion fails. This time I kept count. There were 4 noes and 3 yeses.
That's,
Motion failed.
that's what I said. That's
Yeah.
the motion passed.
No, I said it failed. Didn't
No,
I say
I'm
it
not
failed?
counting right.
I'm sorry. I said the motion failed. Okay, now we're back addressing the bill again.
Madam Chair.
Representative Harper.
I think, if I understand the bill, and you can correct me if I'm not, under Representative Hayden's situation, he's not totally precluded from registering and titling that vehicle. The only thing is, you turn in the original one, repair your car, then you can apply for a reconstructed or whatever. But there is a provision for you to register and title that car, but it has to have a different registration on it, that it has been, to prove that it has been rebuilt. So you're not shut out of the system.
Representative Roberts.
Under that scenario, say that the car was X number cent, or whatever, the insurance company wanted to sack it, but he said, no, you give me the money, I'll get it fixed. He surrenders his title, goes through fixing it. How long does it take him to retitle it? I mean, what kind of a time limit? Has he got to leave that thing sit there for 90 days before he can drive it after he's fixed it?
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, all he has to do is immediately resubmit for a reconstructed title.
But I know that, but how long does it take for him to get it?
I believe our processing time at present is about 3 weeks.
Because he can't register the car and get licensed for it until he's proved that he's got title or somebody's got title to it. In other words, he can't drive the car if he's surrendered his title.
Okay, Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, if the vehicle is that substantially damaged, he's going to have a period of time that it's being repaired and out of commission. There is nothing to prevent him from surrendering the title at that point. He knows that he's going to be having it fixed
And then immediately,
and applying for another title at the same time.
immediately.
Correct.
Well, he doesn't have to wait till it's all fixed before he files title.
If it's established that the damage was that sufficient, that would be correct.
Okay.
He can go ahead and have it fixed and be making the application for a new title
While
at
it's
the
being
same
returned.
time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Representative Ed.
And if I had a sale at that point of time, somebody came by and said, oh, that's going to be a great car, I'd like to buy that, I'll buy it right now and you finish it. I couldn't sell it because I wouldn't have a title. I might lose the sale.
Madam Chair, Representative Hayden, the provisions in the law would allow you to surrender the title and issue them a bill of sale that explained that the title was surrendered to the division, that the vehicle had been damaged, and that the vehicle would be retitled as a reconstructed. And the bill of sale that you provide, the documentation that you would provide to them would be the supporting documentation for applying for a title at that point.
Representative Hayden, it would seem to me that you would want to do that anyway, so that that person couldn't come back a year later and say, well, I bought this car and I thought it was a real good car, and there's nothing here that proves that it was wrecked, and I had this accident because of something that was not reconstructed properly, and so therefore I'm suing you.
Free enterprise.
Madam Chair,
Representative Whitty.
isn't it true now that insurance companies, when a car is totaled, they take possession of the car or goes to it's sitting in a wrecking yard, that then that car can be sold to anybody by the insurance company that wants to buy that vehicle, and that person can do anything he wants to that vehicle. Tear it apart, reconstruct, or do anything, and there's no provision in the law
Part it out.
to designate the difference between that reconstructed car and another car the same age that's not been damaged at all. Is that true?
Madam Chair, Representative Whitty, that's exactly what we're talking, well,
That's what I was trying to get.
that particular car that's taken by the insurance company and submitted to a wrecking yard, to the salvage pool, is where they send those.
Yes.
Those titles are surrendered if that vehicle meets the definition. The law requires that they surrender those titles. A subsequent purchaser is going to get the same bill of sale, same documentation from that salvage yard that we're proposing take place now. And the vehicle would be retitled as a reconstructed vehicle. So the notation does appear on those titles currently.
And all we're changing is making the law apply to individuals.
Correct.
Okay? I move the bill to the floor with a due pass recommendation.
Representative Whitty moves Senate Bill 117A engrossed to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Janet, why don't you call the roll?
Representative Rajati.
Aye.
Representative Harper.
Aye.
Representative Hayden.
No.
Representative Roberts.
I reluctantly.
Representative Whitty.
Aye.
Representative Lindquist.
Aye. Representative Banzer, Janet.
Representative Banzer.
Aye. Motion carries.
He's not here that often, we forget.
Would you
No,
consider
just
another?
Sure, I'll carry it.
Okay, Representative Woody will carry this bill.
I
Let's-
carry every 4-3. This is 6-1, so I'm in good shape now.
Okay, let's move on to 118, which Claudia tells me is an easy one.
I hope so.
I suppose it's all in how you look at it. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 118, it's one of the shorter bills. It changes the definition of driver license. And I will read quickly from the bill. The term driver license may be used interchangeably with license, and either term may be used in any or all of the following ways. It may refer to the document, which is that which you carry in your wallet, or it may refer to the general driving privileges granted by this state. Question that has been asked before, and I'll answer it ahead of time, is why is this needed? It looks very minor. The state of Oregon defends a lot of rather interesting court cases that often center around what a driver license is. The Attorney General's office wanted it set down in law as clearly as possible. It saves them some time and some energy in litigation. That is really the only reason for the bill. And as I said, it was supported by the AG's office, and it's to clear up some ambiguity about what the term driver license really means. You may want to file this bill in your memory. You have another bill that you will be hearing that I am not staffing that has to do with driver licensing, and these particular provisions will have to be handled in that bill as well, so you may hear about it again in a slightly different context. But that's what Senate Bill 118 does.
Is this a lawyer's bill?
Bingo. Any discussion?
Yes.
Representative Harper moves that we send Senate Bill 118 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Representative Hayden, would you carry this one?
Okay.
Got it.
Good man, Hayden.
Okay.
I wouldn't have carried the previous one, Madam Chair.
It's called kamikaze.
Senate Bill 120.
Senate Bill 120 is another relatively simple bill in concept. Under present law, fixed load vehicles are registered annually. A Motor Vehicles Division employee, under their employee suggestion program, recommended that there would be a small cost savings to the division if fixed load vehicles were registered biennially, as all, I shouldn't say all, but most other vehicles are registered. Senate Bill 120A deletes the annual registration provision for fixed load vehicles. There was no opposition testimony on this bill to the subcommittee or to the Senate committee.
I move Senate Bill 120 to the floor of the due pass.
Representative Brigiotti? Wait a minute.
You mean you don't want me to ask my question? I want to find out what the... Tell me exactly what you mean by fixed load. I think I know what it is, but I want to make sure. Somebody out there tell me what you mean by it.
Joanne.
Define it.
I will give you that privilege.
Huh?
I'll give you that privilege.
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, Joanne Peterson, DMV. Fixed load vehicles are vehicles which are neither designed nor primarily used to transport persons or property. Examples include backhoes, road graders, air compressors. They're more equipment in nature as opposed to really being vehicles.
So they don't carry anything but themselves.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Representative Brigiotti moves that we send Angross Senate Bill 120 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion? Any objection?
Yeah, I'll carry it.
Representative Brigiotti will carry this one.
Nancy got any of that?
No, but she keeps leaving.
I know. She was on
She
the
does that on
committee.
purpose.
She was on the committee.
She'll get some. We've got more to go. Senate Bill 122.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 122 is another bill relating to registration. Historically, farm vehicles have been registered on a quarterly basis if the owner desired. During the revision process, it was discovered that the division had no statutory authority to issue such registrations, so they have ceased doing that. Quarterly registrations are a convenience to farmers since not all farmers use their vehicles on the highways all year round. Farmers would like to continue to be issued quarterly registrations. Senate Bill 122 gives the Motor Vehicles Division the authority to issue quarterly registrations for farm vehicles.
Any questions?
You mean they've been doing this illegally for a long time? She could be back there anyway. You're kidding. Because they are not used the year round.
Issuing them quarterly?
Yeah.
Joanne, can you answer that one?
How
How did the division start issuing these licenses quarterly?
Madam Chair.
Or
Representative
registrations?
Hayden, we really don't know because it goes back as far as anybody around the division can remember. There are specific provisions for the registrations of trucks and trailers, which these vehicles are, on a quarterly basis. And perhaps, somewhere along the line when the farm provisions came in, it was just assumed that these vehicles could continue to be registered on a quarterly basis. We don't really know.
The answer is because we've always done it that way. Correct.
Madam Chair,
Representative Brigiotti.
I move Senate Bill 122 to the floor with a due pass recommendation.
Representative Brigiotti moves Senate Bill 122 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. I think you're good. Is there any discussion?
Well, just a comment.
Representative Carper.
I know that we've been able to quarterly register farm vehicles since 1950, so it's gone back that far. Now, I can't speak to it beyond that, but
I can't.
for the last 35 years, I can attest that that's what's been done.
The fact that when I first did this, I could only afford a quarter of a year. And that was in the early 40s.
Is there any further discussion? Any objection? So ordered. Representative Banzer, would you carry this one?
That's a good one for you.
Automobile
That'll go back to the
Portlander.
district.
I'll even support you.
And Representative Harper will support you on the floor. Okay.
That'll be a
If
no.
you get in any trouble,
Senate
let
Bill
us know.
124.
Excuse me, may I consult Representative Brigiotti and Harper?
And Harper.
Ben Harper.
One that the bank
Okay, Claudia.
Senate Bill 124, A engrossed. It's a bill that the subcommittee spent quite a bit of time on. Current law requires that all the vehicles that must be registered must also be titled. However, the law does not allow the Motor Vehicles Division to title and register vehicles that are not required to be titled and registered. Some people would like to title and register unregistered vehicles for their own protection and convenience. An example, and I'll use one that Joanne Peterson has used several times, is a light trailer. A light trailer under 8,000 pounds is not required by law to be titled and registered. Some people choose to title and register them because other states require that they be titled and registered. It saves them some hassle if they have to go into another state. There are other examples, but this is what's been called the optional title bill. Senate Bill 124A gives DMV the authority to issue titles and registrations, and I might add, allows them to, by rule, provide for the issuance of titles that are not subject to vehicle titling and registration requirements. The bill in no way requires titling or registration for vehicles that are not required to be registered and titled in the law. The banking industry was concerned with the bill since permissive titling would allow vehicles to be titled without showing a security interest while the vehicle was under a chattel lien filed with the Uniform Commercial Code Office. It's part of the Secretary of State's office. The subcommittee determined that the problem would exist with certain vehicles with or without SB 124A, and SB 124A would in fact give DMV rulemaking authority, which would provide an opportunity to solve the potential problem presented by the banking industry. There was someone here from the banking industry earlier, and he seems to have left. I will elaborate if the committee would like me to.
Madam Chair,
Representative Banzer.
about a week ago, we had a bill, I think deals with titling of farm equipment. Is that right? Implements of husbandry? Correct? And we had a long, elaborate discussion about the problems incurred with that. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't be appropriate to take this bill and that bill and discuss them together, because they're dealing with the same, essentially the same issue. This is more generic, and that deals with a specific.
I'm trying to remember, Representative Banzer, what did we do with, we had the hearing on that one,
We left, we didn't do anything with it.
and that one was mandatory titling of implementation.
Right, and it deals with I think that was at the request of Jenny Jones, wasn't it? Requesting that new equipment be titled, and then we was concerned about what do you do with used equipment. Anyway, I just, for clarity's sake, that is extremely germane to this, and I just make a suggestion. It gets into it, well, opens a whole new issue of titling, and I think the ramifications have a tremendous rippling effect. My recollection of this specific bill was that it's codifying what they're already doing. That in fact they're doing it, and they're asking us to sanction their prior practices. Which is, I mean, there may be some legitimacy for that, but I do think that this, in conjunction with that other bill, is of a significant new public policy that it ought to be looked at in context and discussed.
In fact, Representative Banzer, I remember at that hearing you suggested that the whole issue might be an interim committee study. I guess maybe I don't see the bills conflicting, because this is permissive and it would allow them to do it while that's mandatory. Quite frankly, I'm not even sure that we have that other bill scheduled for work session. And so I guess maybe I personally would like to go ahead with this bill, and because it is permissive and it doesn't screw up anything, but certainly that is open to discussion with the committee.
And Madam Chair, I'm not arguing against that. I'm only raising the attention that we did have another one.
No,
that
I know
was-
that. I know. Is there any discussion? Any motions? Anything?
I have a question.
Representative Harper.
This is substantially rewritten from the first bill that we worked on in the subcommittee. Is that true, or am I just numbers bad?
You might remember, Representative Harper, that I think there were 3 subcommittee meetings devoted to this bill. This bill came back, and there were several problems that were addressed along the way. And what you've got before you is amendments and such.
What I remember in the original bill, there was a section in there to provide where you could get out of the titling procedure if you went into it voluntarily. In the original bill. Is that
Madam
true?
Chair,
What is?
the only amendments made to this bill, Representative Harper, are conflict amendments, and I have a copy of them.
Madam Chair,
Representative Banzer?
do we have, maybe it's more for Claudia, do we have a record of what the vote was in our subcommittee and/or the discussion minutes from that?
Okay.
Yes. Madam Chair, Representative Banzer. There is a record the bill went from the subcommittee with a unanimous vote from the subcommittee.
Well, all I can say, Claudia, I can't find the things in the bill that I objected to, so if I'm thinking of another bill, that's all right. I don't see any problem with this one.
Madam Chair,
Claudia.
Representative Harper, are you referring to the language that said once a vehicle is titled, it's always titled unless there's a reason why it shouldn't be?
Yeah, well, wasn't that language in the original bill?
It is still here.
And it's still here?
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't there provision so that you didn't always have to do it in the original bill?
I mean, you didn't always have to maintain
Well,
the title once it was titled.
This bill and the original, I think, both provided that you could go and get a vehicle titled, even though the law didn't say that you had to.
Right.
And this bill says that, and so did the original. And I thought in the original bill there was also a provision so that
House Transportation Committee, May 14th. Work session on Senate Bill 104, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 117, 118, 120, 122, 124, 125, 128, 131, 133, 208, 209, and 211.
To order. We have a work session today on 20 bills that have gone through the joint subcommittee on motor vehicle code revision process. And for anybody in the audience that's not familiar with that, we've had a joint committee of both the Senate and the House that has been meeting separately, looking at all the motor vehicle code revision bills. And then after that, they make recommendations to the full committees. All of these bills have already gone through the Senate, and now they're on the House side. And our purpose today is a work session. All of the public hearings have already been held, and so we will, aside from merely having people here to respond to questions that the committee members might have, we'll basically be dealing with recommendations from the subcommittee. I might note that it's a rather ambitious schedule. We do have a 10 o'clock session, and what we don't get through today that's on this calendar, we will be carrying over till Thursday. But I'm hoping that we'll get through all of them today. And it's up to the committee members. So, why don't we start with Senate Bill 104? Claudia.
Senate Bill 104, Madam Chair, members of the committee, makes an offense for altering or modifying registration plates. Some people repaint their registration plates to match their vehicle, or in some cases intentionally obscure the plate to avoid identification. SB 104A engrossed creates a Class B traffic infraction for the offense of altering a registration plate. The bill specifically prohibits altering, modifying, covering, or obscuring a plate by changing the color, configuration, numbers, and letters. Bill Seeley from the Motor Vehicles Division has today 2 examples of plates that are modified and altered in the way that they would like to have prohibited. If you'd like to ask him to show those.
Sure, let's see.
Who put that there?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Bill Seeley with Motor Vehicles Division. This one's a fairly common occurrence, or becoming more common, to buy the custom frames for the vehicle. A clear piece of plastic comes with the frame when you buy it at the store, but it's easy to put a smoky or blue or red covering over it. It makes the car look very snazzy, but does obscure reading the registration plate. Sun glares off it, changes the color of the plate, and in some cases, depending on the color chosen, and just in general makes the registration plate difficult to read, including the expiration, to see whether it's a current plate or not. This plate has been altered. One of the characters has been changed to another character, and specifically under the law now, it's not illegal to do that. I imagine could be cited for not displaying proper registration plates or for.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, yeah, I see.
But taking the plate and making an alteration to it like this is not citable under the law right now. There are other, as Claudia brought up, other occurrences of.
Did you, excuse me, Madam Chair,
Representative Roberts.
did you alter those, or were they altered and they were picked up by someone?
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, we altered these.
But you altered them understanding that this is what is done by folks out there in the street?
Yes, Representative Roberts, these are occurrences that we've had experiences with.
That, I guess, is my, yeah, thank you very much.
Gosh, he's doing something illegal, wasn't he, in
No.
motor vehicle? We ought to take him to task for that.
Well, no,
That's the reason for the bill.
no.
Bill,
The point is, it's not
on your
illegal.
example there, without the color coding over the plate, is that frame illegal?
Madam Chair, Representative Harper, is this frame illegal? No.
Says it is in Bill.
Representative Harper, would you read that section of the?
Any material covering placed on, over, and in front of the plate that alters the appearance of plate in any manner.
Any frame or plate holder.
Well, but then continue that says that alters the appearance of the plate in any manner. If you were to just have that frame, you're not really altering the appearance of the plate, are you?
You wouldn't? How about you hold that other plate up, will you, Bill? And the other one, too. Now, what's the difference in those two frames, other than the color change?
You're taking around the little blue circle.
You know, there's a frame around it. The one there.
That's wrong.
Folks, in the subcommittee hearing, two of the representatives argued against this bill. Not that the alteration in a deliberate manner is illegal, but this bill is so broadly written, you can't do anything to a plate without changing or altering.
Bill, what would be in your interpretation and in plain language explain to us what the division had in mind when they talked about, well, it wasn't the division, but the committee, when they talked about any material covering or covering placed on the over of the plate? It would be lines 16 and 17 of the bill.
Madam Chair, our intentions behind this were to attack this kind of thing, or sandblasting the plate and changing the color, which is also something that's commonly done, especially with the different car clubs, or restoring old ones and substantially making it different from an Oregon plate, or in this case, and actually changing it for perhaps criminal reasons. That was our intention behind it, and Representative Harper is correct. We did have a lot of discussions in subcommittee about this. I believe that was before you joined the subcommittee, Madam Chair, and we agreed that it was written too strictly, which was the reason for the amendments, because it did get into the border around the plate, and we're not concerned with that as long as it doesn't obscure the identification of the plate, either the configuration or in any identifying stickers that are put on there to validate the plate for registration.
I see. Okay, so in looking at the amendments, then the part about any frame or plate holder that obscures the numbers was added to clarify the fact that what Representative Harper's concern was.
That's correct.
Am I
That's
right?
why that was added.
That's just one of my,
Representative Harper.
that's just one of my concerns. It's my opinion that if you wanted to strictly enforce this law, and if your car set out in the sunshine and the color faded, you would be guilty of an alterated plate.
Any other discussion? Representative Dancer, you were on the subcommittee at that time, too. Did you have anything to add? I know that this is your favorite bill, just short of snow park permits.
Madam
Well,
Chair,
Madam Chair, I move we table Senate Bill 104.
Okay, Representative Harper moves that we table Senate Bill 104. That's a non-debatable motion. Janet, you better call the roll.
Representative Roberts,
No.
Representative Hayden,
Aye.
Representative Whitty,
No.
Representative Banzer,
Aye.
Representative Rajati,
Aye.
Representative Harper,
Aye.
Representative Lindquist,
No. Motion fails.
Madam Chair.
It passed.
Did it? I lost my count along the way.
You and I, we three were no's and the rest of them were yeses.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Madam
Good.
Chair.
We have tabled the bill.
I'm sorry, I lost my count along the way.
It's all right, I'll count for you.
Okay, motion passes. We will move on then.
Madam Chair.
Go.
Is it appropriate or possible to make a comment in terms of vote explanation?
Sure.
I feel a little bit like I've just killed my baby because we worked so put so many hours in on it that I feel in some trepidation of voting to table it, but I think that overall that there were so many concerns, and I share many of the concerns that Representative Harper has expressed.
Well, I think we could
Representative
amend
Roberts.
we could amend that part out that bothered them. I think that altering those license plates there is a very important thing to address, and we just failed to do that today.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Representative.
if I may, as I recall, within the last few days, we heard a bill in this committee where the auto clubs were seeking special recognition so that they could use plates that reflected the vintage of the automobile. And evidently, according to the testimony I heard today, one of the primary changes in the plates is by auto clubs who are repainting the plates to reflect the vintage of the automobile.
No. Maintain a vintage plate. Right?
Well, we have that's another bill that we'll be discussing.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Representative Roberts.
I'd like to know why all these bills are stuck under our, we sit down there. Did you put them there?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
put
okay,
them
that's
there.
all right.
They're not our committee, there's some other committee.
Why don't we move on
I
to
know,
Senate Bill
I
107?
Can deal with having hazardous waste.
Claudia.
Yes, Madam Chair.
I can't throw it without. I'm getting this
I
something.
need to show my list here.
You all have received, with your packet earlier, you all received memos about each bill. If you're needing any clarification on things.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, SB 107 makes some minor changes in the law. Certain provisions in the law are outdated given present technology. This has to do with title documents that Motor Vehicles Division issues. Senate Bill 107 makes those changes in administrative activities related to registration and to titling. Most changes reconcile statutes with current administrative practice. The changes deal with requirements on title and registration forms, registration periods, and fees. There are no fee changes. Special registrations and registration identia and numbers. And I supplied for you a section-by-section analysis. This is one of those bills that some people like to call housekeeping. If you would like me to go through it in detail, I'll be happy to. Or if you have any questions of the Motor Vehicles Division, Joanne Peterson is here to answer your questions.
Madam Chair,
Representative Roberts.
if John Peterson would come up here, I'd like to just have him say what the bill does, and we can get on with it, if it's housekeeping.
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts. For the record, my name is Joanne Peterson of the Motor Vehicles Division. The bill actually does several different things. For example, in Section 1, current statute requires a seal to be obtained and affixed to title certificates. It's very archaic language, dating back to the days when the division actually had a hand seal that they placed on every certificate of title, and that's being removed. There's
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Representative Roberts?
You say you no longer want to use a seal?
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, we pre-print the state seal on the title forms.
I see.
This language would imply that we actually are using like a notary seal or the old state seal and hand stamping every title.
Cleans the language up and, okay.
Correct. Other areas, like in Section 2, removes the term affidavit and allows a statement to be filed with the division when a person is transferring plates. The term affidavit basically requires a notary, and we don't require those statements to be notarized, so we're removing that. There's language in there that on page 3 that will allow us to adjust registration periods and fees when license types or registration type changes during the license period. For example, a pickup truck might be registered on an annual basis with truck plates because its weight is over 8,000 pounds. A new owner buys it, and maybe they're operating at a lesser weight, and they're changing the registration. And we've historically, adjusted those registration fees and changed those, but there's no statutory authority in current law for it. On another section of the law removes a separate fee for motorcycles with sidecars. There are only approximately 221 three-wheeled motorcycles in the state of Oregon, and only a small percentage of them actually have a sidecar. And that section is being changed. Section 5 on pages 6 and 7 address the renewal reminder notice. This is consistent with changes that were made in the driver's license area as well. Current law indicates that the notice shall be mailed within 90 days, which technically could mean it could be mailed within 1 day, and the changes require a reasonable notice in that area. Change in section 6 on page 7 brings the information required on a registration card consistent with the application requirements, and actually requires the residence or business address. Current law just requires a post office box, even though we have to obtain the residence or business address on the application. And then on section 9 of the bill, talks about replacement vehicle identification numbers. And the current language provides for the replacement of VIN numbers assigned by the division, wherein in fact most cases it's VIN numbers assigned by the manufacturer that have been removed or missing. And on line 23, page 8, the term by the division is being deleted. And then on line 33, where it talks about a person committing an offense if they fail to obtain a vehicle identification number, the words "and affix" are being removed because the person does not affix the VIN to the vehicle. The division does, or the state police.
Madam Chair,
Representative Wright.
what's a reasonable amount of time? As in page 7, the notice shall be mailed a reasonable time. And what would you consider reasonable? 30 days?
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, we generally mail the renewal notices in the Portland area where the vehicles have to go through the inspection program for emission approximately 90 days prior to expiration. Most of the other renewals in the state are mailed approximately 45 days.
You want a motion?
Is there any other discussion? Representative Parker.
Well, as Representative Roberts question about the line 2 on page 7.
Yes. That's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, the reasonable time for mailing notices. I just want a definition of reasonable. Before it was a fixed in time at 90 days. Now we're talking about reasonable. And I just wanted to know what kind of rule they use. That's a very broad statement, reasonable or fair or whatever you want to
I raised the same question during the subcommittee hearing. We never received an answer. But I wonder what would happen if down on line 11 we would say, however, the court shall dismiss the charge of unregistered before the scheduled court appearance.
If we were to, what, Representative Herbert?
Change may to shall
Oh.
on line 11.
On what page?
Page 7,
Page
line
7,
11.
line 11.
Joanne, did you want to respond to that?
Madam Chair, I believe if you change that to shall, it would basically allow anybody to drive an expired registration knowing that if they got caught, they'd always be able to get out of it by simply appearing in court with renewing their registration.
It would seem that by having may, it doesn't preclude the court from dismissing the charge, but it doesn't force them to.
They generally do. If you got a good story.
Any further discussion?
I'm going to push issue, Madam Chair. I'm a little uncomfortable and always have been with the reasonable time. What's reasonable to man might not be reasonable to me, and with the unreliability of the mails these days, you might be caught with a late registration, even though everyone had good intentions. So, but
That's a federal
it's
issue.
a minor thing.
Okay, does anybody want
We have a
to
motion on
make a
the,
motion?
the motion's already been made.
No, okay. Representative Roberts moved that we send Senate Bill 107 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion? Any objection? So ordered. Okay, let's move on to Senate Bill 108. Thank you, Joey. Claudia.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 108, and I'll just read my staff measure analysis, remove some unnecessary and archaic language in the law. If you look at the bill, you'll notice that lines 10 through 16 make a reference to the 1953 edition of the Oregon Revised Statutes. That provision basically required that all the laws relating to insurance and financial responsibility in 1953 would be carried through from the current law into the ORS. The 1953 was when the Oregon Revised Statutes were created. This was enabling legislation to make sure that there is follow-through. You may notice that there's similar wording in the new revision of the code. This is no longer necessary, and Attorney General's office recommended that it be deleted, and that's what is done in Section 1. Section 2 deletes the provision that says that a city department has to file an accident report. They generally simply file a copy of the report that they obtain, or that I should say that they require the driver to file a copy of the report that's filed with DMV rather than just a report. I think I'm reading that quickly. It's been a while since I've looked at these. Section 3 deletes language that now says that examining, people who do the examining for driving tests are appointed by the division. They simply hire them under their normal broad hiring authority, and there's really no reason for this language anymore in the law. It is old language.
I thought maybe we were changing the fact that they had to be competent.
We hope they're all still talking. The final one simply changes the term department to division. And that's because the Motor Vehicles Division is no longer a department, it is a division. And that's all Senate Bill 108 does.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I remember no adverse comments about this bill in the subcommittee. I move we send it to the floor.
Representative Harper moves that we send Senate Bill 108, A engrossed, to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? So ordered. Representative Harper, would you carry that one? Would you mind?
Yeah, of course it did.
What does it do? Read your staff analysis.
That's why you don't remember anything about the bill.
That's true.
Right.
I'll carry it.
Ones that are
Okay, thank you.
interesting.
Listen, with 20 bills, we're really going to have to share the load here. We're also going to have to split it up, or we'll put the whole floor to sleep.
Can we take it as a package?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Do our own little consent
Now
calendar.
trust
Senate
us.
Bill 109. Claudia.
Yes. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 109 addresses a couple of problems. This one is, in fact, not a motor vehicles division bill. This is a highway division bill, so we get a little variation here. Certain language in present law relating to truck weights and to truck weighing devices is outdated and needs clarification. Also, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho are attempting to make certain provisions relating to truck weights uniform. Senate Bill 109 repeals some obsolete language relating to weighing devices. Current law is very specific about the kind of scales and the kind of weighing devices used, and technology, if any of you have seen the weigh stations, has changed dramatically and will be changing dramatically in the next few years. Arguably, the way current law is written, it would preclude the division from using those weighing devices if they're going to be citing trucks for being overweight. They'd have to go back to the old type of scales. So what this bill does is allow the Department of Transportation to establish standards and rule for such devices. It also makes some definitional changes in group of axles and in tandem axles. Some of that is to make that language easier to read, and in the case of tandem axles, makes that consistent with what the states of Washington, Idaho, and Oregon are trying to do in common. Senate amendments added the provisions from SB 115. SB 115 and SB 109 had obviously been separate bills. They were both interrelated, and the subcommittee felt that they should be combined, make one less bill, and they fitted together well. They make some minor changes in the weight provisions, uniform with those of Idaho and Washington, and add a statutory weight classification for triple trailers, which did not exist. I might refer you to page 7, which is where the weight change language is, in lines 24 through 27. 550 is changed to 600 pounds. And then there's one other change on lines 9, that one weight class is in fact lowered. The maximum weight is not changed. I may also add that I received a letter from the state of Washington Senate Committee Administrator, and as of their adjournment, they have passed the same uniform legislation. So at least 2 states at this point are now heading toward uniformity, I suppose, would be the way to put it.
Thank you, Claudia. Are there any questions?
I move that Senate Bill 109 goes to the floor with a due pass recommendation. I think this is way overdue.
Okay, Representative Brigiotti moves A engrossed Senate Bill 109 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion?
No, I was going to say we didn't need his ad lib, but I guess that's all right.
Any objection to the motion? So ordered. Representative Brigiotti, would you like to carry?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure. I'll weigh my way through that one.
Oh, got it. Okay. Senate Bill 110.
Senate Bill 110, Madam Chair, members of the committee, is another one of those bills that doesn't do very much, but it's awfully hard to explain. Senate Bill.
Nothing like starting off in a negative way.
There's a lot of these that are like Senate Bill 110 is a product of minor substantive changes requested by the Motor Vehicles Division. Oh,
No, wait a minute,
we don't
Janet.
need-
No.
Well, I just,
Oh, thanks. That's okay.
Hold on to it.
Okay. Senate Bill, where was I? The bill eliminates archaic terms and processes and clarifies certain language relating to administrative procedures for issuing driver licenses. I'm sorry. The bill simplifies administrative procedures as specified by law and reconciles practice with statutory language. The subcommittee reviewed each change in the 27 sections of the bill and determined that the changes were needed, and they also determined that the changes were minor and would contribute to more efficient administration of the driver license functions of DMV. If you would like, I can go through them with you. I'm
Good Lord.
glancing quickly to see if there's any real highlights on this one. As an example, on page 1, line 22, special restricted disabled driver permit is being deleted. Since that provision was placed in law, there have been no such permits issued, which would make one think that they weren't needed.
What,
It
next session, I'll come back and watch.
Yeah, the one that, right. It looks, in going through the bill, many of the deletions certainly just make sense and don't really do anything major. Are there any questions? Any discussion?
I have one quick comment,
Okay.
so you know. This bill requires conflict amendments, and in fact conflicts with some other bills that you have not taken action on yet, but that's of concern for those other bills. However, this bill needs conflict amendments to Senate Bill 100, so if you can include that in a motion for technical